What's going on, guys? So by now, I'm sure that you've seen this leaked fine list from Aston Villa. If you haven't and you don't know what I'm talking about, this is a great insight into how a professional club works. On this list, we have some brutal fines, like if you're late for training, you have to pay £500. If you forget your GPS unit at training, that's £100. If you're late for anything on a game day, it's £1,000. And even something funny like if you forget to bring in cakes for your birthday, it's £50 a day. These guys are obviously making a ton of money, but still it's a pretty harsh list of punishments. When I first saw this fine list, I thought it was so cool to see because it was so similar to the fine list at the clubs that I've been at, besides the fact that they're paying thousands of pounds for being late. Ours are just a little bit less than that. But then I realized that a lot of you guys are probably not familiar with how the whole fine system works at professional clubs. You might understand the basics, like sure, if you mess up, you have to pay a fine, but you might not know like who creates the fine list, where all this money goes, who enforces the fine list, who collects all the money, where is the money staying throughout the whole season, how does a fine wheel incorporate into this whole thing, and just the overall system of fines. So in this video, I just thought I would actually dive into how they actually work and some funny stories that I've experienced over my years of playing. So first off, how is this fine list created? Typically at most clubs, there's some sort of fine list that just gets passed down season after season. And at the start of every new season, maybe the captain, maybe the manager, maybe a group of more experienced players get together and they make tweaks to this fine list just based on how things went last year. One example, a few years ago, a team I was on was pretty loose with requiring guys to wear flip-flops in the shower. And then we actually had athlete's foot kind of break out in the locker room. So that following season, we made sure to make that a mandatory thing to do. And if you're not wearing flip-flops in the shower, it's a fine. But what's typically on these fine lists? Usually the fine list is created to hold everybody accountable and be a pro basically on and off the field. So that usually means that the majority of fines are about being late. Arriving late to the facilities in the morning, or late out on the field for training, late to weights, late to meetings, late to film, late for appearances, etc. The next biggest category is usually like your professionalism off the field. That's like if you accidentally leave your quarter zip or your jacket out on the field after training, if you're not wearing the proper attire for like team travel days in the airport or something, if you're leaving your plates, your cups, your silverware, or just a mess in general at team meals, or like not cleaning off your boots in the designated area. And then finally, you have your like really specific, weird, like extra fines. And this really changes from club to club in my experience. Like at Aston Villa, they make you bring in like cupcakes or something for your birthday, and if you forget, it's £50 a day. So they've obviously had a player not do this in the past, and now they want it on their fine list as a fun way to celebrate each other's birthdays. I've had some pretty funny or random fines over the years, but usually it's pretty straightforward. Thinking back to some, it's like you can't use your phone at any team meal. You can't even check the time. If you do, it's a fine. You can't bring any coffee into the treatment room because too many guys have spilled it over the years, or you can't put your bare ass on your locker because it's just unsanitary and we don't want to spread pink eye or something. Those are just random fines that are very specific to each club. The amount fined is going to vary a ton from club to club, from team to team, from league to league, just based off how much those guys are actually making. You want the fine to be severe enough to actually dissuade the players from doing these things, but you don't want it to be so severe that all of a sudden they're not going to be able to cover rent or feed their family or something like that. I think here at the Charleston Battery, pretty much anywhere in the USL, if we had the same fines that Aston Villa has, there would be guys going bankrupt left and right. At Aston Villa, their fines look to range between like £50 and £1,000, and most clubs that I've been at, they range from $5 to about $50. So we have the fine list, but now who enforces these fines? Usually at the start of every season, a team will elect a fine master or a fine committee. The fine master or fine committee are in charge of enforcing the fines, keeping track of who owes what, and keeping all the money for the entire season. If a guy shows up late to training, they'll just take note, they'll tell him that he's fine, they'll write his name down on their phone or something, and then if a guy leaves a quarter zip jacket out at the field, okay, that's a fine, write his name down. And at the end of the week, they send out the fine list saying who's been fined, what you've been fined for, and how much money you owe. Then all the players that were fined are usually given about a week or a few days to actually pay that fine, and all that money then goes into the fine pot, which is held by the fine master or the fine committee. If you don't pay your fine on time, then it's either like doubled, or you get like a $10 late fee, or there's some percentage added on to that. One of the more fun parts of this entire system is the court system that you can appeal your fines. If a player thinks that he's truly innocent and that he's been wrongly accused of a fine and he has the evidence to back it up, he can take that fine to court. This hasn't happened at every club that I've been at, but a few have had it, and it's a really, really fun way to just get the guys together, argue, heckle each other, and also it's a good way to get rid of a fine if you truly were fined for the wrong reason. Court is usually held in the locker room with all the guys around, and that guy who's been wrongly accused of the fine can bring all the evidence out there to the open and basically plead his case. After he's done, then the entire locker room, or maybe just the fine committee, vote on if he's innocent or guilty. If he's innocent, he gets the fine exonerated. He doesn't have to pay or anything. But if he's guilty, then he has to either pay double or another fee tacked onto that fine. It sounds really serious and complicated, but for the most part, it's just a lot of guys just arguing, having a good time, and honestly just bonding and getting closer together as a team. So then basically throughout the entire season, we're collecting fines every single week. But where does all this money go? Well, every single team that I've been on throughout my entire career, all that money in the fine pot goes to the end of the year party at the end of the season. This is for all the players, the wives, the girlfriends, all that stuff to come together, have dinner, have a few drinks, and celebrate the entire season. I love this whole concept because even if you're getting fined throughout the year for multiple reasons or whatever, you kind of know at the end of the day, the more money that goes into this fine pot, the better that end of the year party is going to be. And I've actually heard of some bigger clubs with much, much bigger salaries than in the USL actually have full on like weekend retreats in villas in like Mallorca or Miami or wherever. And it just sounds like a really, really fun time. I've yet to experience that. I think the best end of the year party we had, we went out to like the Cheesecake Factory for a big dinner, and then we went out to like an Airbnb and had a little party there. Lastly, I'm sure you guys have seen a clip of this either in my own videos or elsewhere, but how does the fine wheel incorporate into this whole system? Throughout my career, the fine wheel hasn't been at every single club. It's been about at like half of them, but I think it's the best part of the entire fine system. Basically, when you get fined, you can gamble that fine on the wheel. And on this wheel, there's a mix of rewards and punishments. There's usually like a double or triple section where if you land on it, then your fine gets doubled or tripled. There can be a song and dance section where if you land on it, you do get out of paying your fine, but you have to sing and dance in front of the entire team. There can be like a get out of jail free card where you don't have to pay anything. Or as you saw me land on the other week, breakfast, where you have to go out to a store and basically buy breakfast for your entire team.
Okay.
That was a weak spin.
So overall, summed up, the fine system is just a really, really great way to hold everybody accountable. And if it's done the right way with the right things, it can be a really fun thing to get your entire team to bond over. And if it's a good year with a ton of fines, you can fund a really fun end of the year celebration. But anyway, guys, that's the video. I just want to give you a little bit of insight into how the fine system works and some funny stories that I've experienced over the years. I hope you liked the video. I hope you learned something. And if you did, please, please, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, guys, peace.